Hey, welcome to the session of SeeTheLines Mexico, where we are sketching here on Cozumel Island. We're off the coast of Playa del Carmen in Quintana Roo. We're going to be looking at how to effectively design and organize our travel sketchbook. So I have it here, and I've been working on this book for 6 years. Specifically, I worked on it initially, from the very beginning, knowing that in the future I would eventually publish it. So there are methods, there are systems, there's a framework, there's organization that is essential for keeping that consistent through the whole process, the whole lifespan of this journal. So I'm really excited to share it with you now, and thank you for joining me today, and happy sketching. Okay, right now we're looking at my travel sketchbook. A little bit more than halfway through there, but to start out, simple, it's in the morning time, having a coffee. I'm gonna take it. I've got a fountain pen here, and this fountain pen is nicer, it's thicker for line weight. So I'm gonna title it and there you go. There's my morning coffee cup. Now, I'm here, and I've got a lighter line weight for the text. So, I'll begin here. I'll give it a subtext, Cozumel Islands, Sunset Restaurant and Bar. I'll write a little thing here, and I'll speed up the process just to show you kind of this area. Alright, pretty simple. I can read it to you if you like, but just have a little section here that says, here filming a tutorial right on the beach side. Perfect conditions with my camera setup. The weather is delicious. Light breeze, it's like a warmth of a hug. Ordered a latte, and French toast is coming up. Alright. Alright, we're going to take a little French toast break, and we'll be right back. Here, next up, I already have my French toast. Spoke to the owner. He's pausing this boat here in front of us. And now we're going to sketch it real quick. Now it's going to be displayed here. I'll have some text on the bottom. So, let's quickly get the first line weight down, which is going to be this right here, the rocky face. Thank you. variations of text and image. So I'm gonna write here. Okay, what I wrote here is John, the owner, spoke to me about how in Semana Santa all the national Mexicans come to visit. They expect a discount and special menu items, so the restaurant has to prepare. John was kind to pause the boat from leaving for me to sketch it quickly. And that's it. Now on the next page, we'll be going to a new spot, and I think it'll be a larger sketch with a little text excerpt, and that's it. Okay, last we saw each other, we were on Cozumel Island, and I intended to complete a sketch with you here, but as things go in travel sketching, day by day, it's moment by moment, you don't know what's going to happen next. So now we're here again, and I'm back in the city. I'm able to have a little bit more of a calmer setting, organized setting to walk you through the travel sketchbook, the different methods and different organization that you can have through the lifespan of your sketchbook. On this one, I showed you how you would break it up in form of like a thumbnail sketch with then just like breaking up in scales and sizes, right? So now I want to take you back 7 years ago when this sketchbook started. And what I'll be doing here is showing you sort of the spread, right? Or the spread is the 2 pages, and different ways that you can organize that. Different ways, and I'll show you probably in grid and like in a diagram form of how that will be done. So when I first started this sketchbook 7 years ago, I went on a tour through Southeast Asia for 4 months, and in Thailand, I had started with the intention that I would publish this book in the future. And so it started very simply: title, text, image, and sometimes it would then do full bleed, right? Some simple things that you could do are like dragging a line into the next page and then leaving white space. White space is often talked about and taught in architecture design, architecture school, where it gives your presentation space to breathe. It also gives your sketch, your design, the opportunity to allow the imagination to wander. So when your sketchbooks are filled to the brim and there's no white space, sometimes that could, it doesn't allow your reader, your viewer, you yourself in the future to explore more in your mind and exploring the page. So what I like about this one specifically is that it draws the eye from left to right. And there's other examples of you could do that as well. But here the line, the center line of the street starts here to the left, and it moves your eye to the right, from up, down to the corner of the page, and to flipping the page. Same concept here, and especially here. There's a title on the top left, then brings your eye to the right, and then all the way down to the bottom right, where there's a description of sort of my experience arriving to this location. I said, after an hour ride winding up and down from Tom Lot, we made our way passed through natural hot springs to this tiny remote village.
A gorgeous mountain green drop to a raw village with villagers who rarely see Falang, foreigner. I was seen as an alien, given frowns, grins, and a few smiles. The children are my favorite part about visiting these places. They're the most consistent globally. Laughter becomes the universal language. Underlined here on the bottom right, allowing the reader to then flip the page. So those are some examples earlier on in the sketchbook. Now when we get to Japan, I did 5 weeks in Japan, and I knew that I was going to be there for quite some time, and going to several cities as I took the Shinkansen rail, the train, which is the speed train. So I was going to go to several cities. So what I did here is I mapped out the country on every spread. So here's the map of Japan, and Hiroshima on the west side of Japan, located on the map. You flip the page and you get the map again. Kyoto in the center of Japan. Now we're in Osaka, mapped out again. And Nagoya, located on the map. So how I do this is I will just describe it here so you could do it if you'd like. Is I look up on my phone, like map of Japan, for example. Take my phone underneath the page and I put my phone brightness on high, and then I'll trace the map over the page. Now, an easier way to do that consistent with the same line work on each one is then on the next page, I'll take the light from my phone, put it on high brightness, and like a light table, I'll trace the previous map so that it's the same, consistent on every page. I think one of the most important things about sketching for me is consistency. You can be consistently messy, or you can be consistently annotative, and that's this feature here. So another example I'd like to share is my South Africa trip. In South Africa, I went on a safari, and it was less about visiting architecture and drawing architecture and more about the story, the experience, the experience of it. And so I still wanted to share, and I wasn't sharing on social media at the time, but I still wanted to share it. As we've heard, happiness is happiness shared. So I had to get that energy out, and I did it through this sketchbook. And how I did that was, it was more about thumbnail sketches, storytelling sketches. So very small sketch, and I now changed the text form to like column type text. I learned from a teacher back in architecture school. So she was like a graphic design teacher. She said one of the important things to note when you're writing is to do a maximum of 4 words in a line per line. So you don't want to lose the reader. You don't want to have like 15 words in a line because that reader's going to be scanning all the way across the page. So I took that. That's why you see in most magazines, you see column form text, because it keeps the reader more engaged, because they feel like their eyes, or there's more levels of success because they're able to kind of scan through the page faster. So as you can see, the sketches, they're not amazing. They're more about telling the story. Here an African tree, here within the safari's Jeep. And so I took a photo, and I drew from that photo a little bit later to then tell the story. So another tip here is to anchor your drawings. You can anchor the drawing through bringing it to the bottom and adding some text on the bottom. And I mean that so that whatever's above, like the sky, then falls into the white space of the page, and that it's brought to the bottom, so it's anchored near the bottom. So that's about it to share these different techniques and methods of your travel sketchbook. One more thing I'd like to note is that a little bit later on in this book I started doing cover pages on a spread per adventure. So here it's a very simple line work cover page just to guide the reader to prepare them for what's coming next, right? So it's just a cover page showing my scooter trip. The next one was, here's the cover page for the journey. And here, this one's interesting, is about locating your environment. So here's the map of Mexico, zeroing in a little closer towards Yucatan, to the region that I was going to be traveling in. And you have Yucatan here and locating the cities there. So that is what we have for this travel sketchbook. And thank you. Thank you for joining me on this session. Thank you for wanting to learn, wanting to grow, and wanting to create your own travel sketchbook. I think it's such a special treat to leave this legacy for your family, for your children, your children's children. That's what kind of drives me to do this. Something tangible that you're leaving your stories for the ones that love you and the ones that will remember you. And potentially, if you want to publish this, the ones that will learn about you too. So that's it. I'll see you at the next session, and until then, happy sketching and God bless.